At the United Nations, the world witnessed yet another tense and emotional debate over the war in Gaza, a conflict that continues to test the will of the international community and the patience of those desperate for peace. In a charged meeting of the UN Security Council, Israeli and Palestinian representatives exchanged powerful remarks that underscored just how far apart the two sides remain, even as global calls for a ceasefire grow louder. The session was marked by sharp exchanges, unwavering accusations, and impassioned pleas for a future beyond violence. It highlighted not just the political divide between Israelis and Palestinians, but also the urgency of finding a path forward amid growing humanitarian concerns. The Israeli representative opened the debate with an unflinching speech, criticizing what he described as the Palestinian Authority's failure to confront extremism and denouncing the ongoing financial support to those involved in terror. He began with a blunt declaration: go to terrorists and their families. Enough with the lies. Stop the payments, not in words, but with actions. The Israeli envoy stressed that the crux of the conflict lies in the absence of decisive leadership on the Palestinian side. He said, what is needed is real leadership, leadership that does not avoid elections for almost 2 decades, leadership that serves its people, not itself, leadership brave enough to confront extremists, leadership with moral clarity to end corruption and incitement, leadership responsible enough to stop paying salaries to killers. As he continued, the Israeli representative emphasized that his country's military actions were not driven by territorial ambition, but by the urgent need to protect its citizens and to free hostages held by Hamas. He explained, Mr. President, while we take decisive action in Judea and Samaria to remove these threats, our operations in Gaza continue with the same determination to bring our hostages home. Israel fights on multiple fronts, but with a clear purpose. Our objectives are not complicated: to bring the hostages home and to eradicate Hamas. In a somber reminder of the challenges ahead, he warned the Council, but peace will not come through speeches or declarations. It will only come through courage, accountability, and the will to end terror at its core. He ended his opening address with a resolute message to the Security Council. This council faces a choice. You can look away or you can confront reality. Israel has already chosen. We will face reality. We will confront terror. We will secure our future. Following the Israeli statement, the permanent observer of the State of Palestine took the floor, delivering a speech filled with urgency and emotional appeal. He called for a shift away from what he described as an endless cycle of violence and accused the Israeli leadership of seeking to prolong the conflict. He began by saying, I think it's becoming crystal clear that almost the entire international community is moving in the direction of peace and putting an end to this tragedy in Gaza. The Palestinian envoy accused Israeli leaders of escalating the crisis by preparing to expand military operations to the West Bank. The Israeli leadership, not the representative in this room, but his boss, stated it clearly, setting the stage of moving the war to the West Bank as if what we need is more wars. They are not satisfied with all of the killings and the destruction in Gaza. Now they are making it crystal clear, phase 2 or chapter 2 of the same thing of erasing the Palestinian people. He criticized Israel's rejection of the widely supported two-state solution, pointing out, they say it very clearly under the banner, no to the two-state solution, in which we have global consensus around it, and no to the Palestinian state. Warning of the potential for greater violence if the conflict spread to the West Bank, the Palestinian envoy appealed for restraint. We do not need to see the repetition of what happened against our people in the Gaza Strip to be in the West Bank. When will the Israeli leaders show leadership and move in the direction for peace? In a pointed remark aimed at Israel's leadership, he suggested that internal political concerns were influencing decisions on the conflict. You know the reason why his boss doesn't want peace? Because the moment they have ceasefire and beginning of peace in Israel, you know what will be the future of the Prime Minister, who is a wanted international criminal by the ICC. Concluding his remarks, the Palestinian representative appealed for global unity in favor of peace. We have chosen peace. You have chosen peace. There is a party that is beating the drums to move it in the direction of the West Bank, and we should succeed in not allowing them to do so. The Israeli representative returned to the floor to respond, challenging the Palestinian envoy directly and highlighting what he described as a failure to confront extremist forces in Palestinian territories. He asked pointedly, "Mr. Mansour, will you stop the payment for terrorists who committed horrible crimes? Will he stop with that policy? You can say no or you can say yes." He then recounted Israel's 2005 withdrawal from Gaza and blamed the Palestinian Authority for failing to control the territory, leading to Hamas's rise to power. Look what happened in Gaza. We left Gaza 2005, 20 years ago completely. We gave you the keys. We told you you will rule Gaza. The PA, you got the opportunity, but you were not able to confront the extremists. Hamas took over, and then we had no choice after October 7th and to go in. The Israeli envoy warned that similar dynamics in the West Bank would not be tolerated if the same will happen in Judea and Samaria, and you will not be able to confront the radicals in Jenin, in Tulare, and you will allow them to take over. So what do you think? We will sit idly by and wait for rockets to fly into Israel or for Hamas to invade Israel from Judea and Samaria? Number. While emphasizing that Israel did not seek permanent control over Palestinian areas, he was clear about Israel's willingness to act if necessary. We have no desire to be in Gaza. I have said it many times. We have no desire to go into Jenin and fight Hamas in the camps in Jenin. But it's your responsibility. Every nation, when you have terror activity, you deal with it, you confront it. But if you are not capable of doing it, then the responsibility will be on our shoulders. In a brief but pointed closing statement, the Palestinian representative challenged Israel to take a clear stance on the core issue at the heart of decades of conflict. He asked, "The whole world is saying we want to have two-state solution, which requires the end of occupation and the independence of the state of Palestine. Is the representative of the state of Israel ready to accept this global consensus or not?" This final question went unanswered in the session, leaving the audience with a stark reminder of the fundamental disagreements that have long impeded peace efforts. The UN meeting provided a snapshot of the broader Israeli-Palestinian conflict, two sides speaking past each other, blaming one another for decades of violence, yet both invoking the need for peace. Israel presented its actions as defensive measures aimed at defeating terrorism and ensuring national security. The Palestinian leadership framed Israel's actions as attempts to deny statehood and perpetuate occupation. Both claimed to want peace, but each placed the burden of responsibility squarely on the other. As the humanitarian crisis in Gaza deepens and tensions risk spilling over into the West Bank, the debate at the UN underscored just how difficult it will be to break the cycle. The international community has repeatedly called for an immediate ceasefire, humanitarian access, and a return to political negotiations. Yet, as the exchanges in the Security Council made clear, achieving these goals will require not only diplomatic effort, but also political courage on both sides. The Palestinian envoy's closing question about Israel's willingness to accept a two-state solution encapsulates the challenge ahead. Without agreement on this foundational issue, efforts to end the fighting and establish lasting peace will remain elusive. For now, the UN debate stands as a vivid reminder of the need for dialogue, compromise, and above all, leadership capable of confronting extremists and prioritizing the lives and futures of ordinary Israelis and Palestinians.